Music Talk brings you Joe Bouchard. The original bassman for Blue Oyster Cult has just released American Rocker. Not only do we go deep into the new disc, but Joe opens up about auditioning for Clive Davis, mixing monitors for the Ramones, getting songwriting tips from Ian Hunter, and the possibility of rejoining BOC as they celebrate their 50th anniversary.
On a tour and riding along, 100 miles to go. Gotta make it to the concert so we can't move slow.
So now you got American Rocker
Yes.
out. It just released. Did you do anything exciting on the release day?
I did a ton of interviews.
That's not exciting.
I worked late the night before getting some videos together, and they're up. They're up, and they're just doing great on YouTube at the moment. So, yeah, it was pretty much a working day. I made a
Very
big
good.
I made a big pot of oysters, steamed
Oh, okay.
oysters with an Asian sauce that was unbelievable. I'm gonna do this again. I used to shuck, but it's too much work. I
Right.
used to shuck the oysters. I played in the oysters, and I used to shuck the oysters. But it was too much work. So I got this great recipe for steamed oysters with an Asian type of sauce, soy, and rice vinegar, and all good stuff there. Ginger,
Cool.
yeah,
So
delicious.
when did this album, American Rocker, start taking shape for you?
Well, this is really my pandemic album.
All right.
I did put out an album in the middle of the pandemic, but it already had been written before that. So when the pandemic and the lockdown, everybody's schedule was all totally wiped out. And
Yep.
like you're starting to think like, what am I going to do? But I have lots of things to do. And it was a great relief to have time to really concentrate on my instruments and writing songs, So I know I got an email from one of the guys I used to work with in the band, and he said, "Oh, I'm so I just don't have any motivation. How do you do it?" Well,
Right.
I got all those guitars back there,
Yeah.
and in order for me to justify my guitar habit, I've got to make them talk, or
There you
make
go.
up something reasonable. But
Right.
so then it all started to fall together with this album, and it was good because I could really concentrate on the writing. This is the most writing I've ever done for an album. This is my 7th solo album, but I'd usually, grab a couple of cover songs, or I
Right.
do an instrumental, or, there were a lot of ways to take it, but this one was totally me. I wrote all the songs, all the music for the songs, only two of the, and a lot of lyrics too. I usually use an outside lyricist, and on this album, I'll use John Shirley, who's a science
Right.
fiction writer, tremendous. He sends me lots of great stuff. And I used an old lyric from my writing partner in the 70s, Helen Wheels, a
Right.
song called Catherine, that she gave me decades ago. And sadly, she passed away in 2000. But that song was calling me. It's one of those things, Sometimes the song's got to come out. Doesn't
Right.
matter, doesn't matter, it just has to come out. And
So do
so
you think
that was good. Yeah.
was it because of the pandemic and the time you had time to kind of
Yeah.
chill out
Yeah.
and
Dig
yep.
into, but all of it, I was looking at that. There's really that one old lyric, but everything else was written brand new from scratch.
Right. Cool.
And I just kept thinking about, how lucky I was to be in a very famous band in the 70s
Right.
and 80s.
Yeah.
And when our hit song "Don't Fear the Reaper," did they know that song in New Zealand?
There's a very famous version of it by a band called the Muttonbirds here.
Oh, I'll look that
It was
up.
recorded in the early 90s. Now,
Oh,
I
nice.
moved here in 94 and I found out
Yeah.
about it. Don McGlashan is the main guy in the band. Yeah, so
Oh, I will
the
definitely look
Kiwis know
that up.
about Don't Fear the Reaper.
Oh, well,
Absolutely.
good, good. I don't want to, be talking about this iconic song. And like, what is that? But
No.
um, so we had some tremendous years. From the hit, when you have a hit song, of course you move up in the billing on the big shows, and we
Right.
did stadiums, we did Madison Square Garden, we did all the, you
I think
know,
I saw
uh,
you guys at Rich Stadium in Buffalo.
that was a good show with Skinnerd
Yeah,
and Nugent and
that's the one.
Stars. That's
And
the
I just
one.
talked to Ted Nugent the other day.
Yep, 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 yep.
I,
Crazy.
yeah, it was
Big
awesome.
big fireworks display at the end too. That was another. That show was. What can I say? That was wow. And a lot of my friends, because I'm from upstate New York, came, and yeah, I remember that show very well. Don't remember
Yeah.
all the others, but that
No,
one I
but
definitely
that was a keeper.
definitely is a big move. Big stadium, beautiful day. Uh, oh, oh my God.
So I remember, I remember you guys did Stairway to the Stars, and there was like lasers and stuff, and then you have a
Yeah, yeah,
reference to Stairway to the Stars in the Golden Age. So that,
you know.
bringing it back to the new album, tell me about writing that song.
Out on tour in the 70s, not sure about the duration. Flying across the country, beyond your imagination. The album got some traction, now it's moving up the charts. Attracting fans on the road, on the stairway to the stars.
It just popped out. I actually had the music for with different lyrics on it, but
Right.
the situation was, I don't know if it's a long story. It's a long story. Uh, I got my. I'll tell you the story. You got time?
Please do. Yep, we got all the time
my
you need.
my manager got an email from some promoter in Hong Kong, and the idea was that they're going to have me personally, not Blue Oyster Cult, not my Bouchard brothers, but they
Right.
wanted me to be the headliner at this charity event. So I'm thinking, come on, this is a scam or something. It's like the Nigerian prince who's going to give you $1 million. So I looked it up, and there was really a legitimate charity in Hong Kong, and I'm thinking, well, I used to teach at a very nice private school here in Connecticut. And some of my students were Asian, and I know they came from very wealthy families. So I'm thinking, well, maybe one of my students hooked up with her grandmother, who's the head of this thing, and just I wanted to believe.
Right.
I wanted to believe. So I had this music, and I said, I'm going to write a song that's going to be #1 because they got all that money, crazy rich Asians, and I really want to believe. I got a lawyer to call the oh my partner's nephew is an international lawyer, and they're looking at all of this, and then they offered me more money than I wanted. They said, we want you to bring all your friends too, and they would tell you what room you're going to stay in the hotel, everything.
Right.
So but it's still smelling bad. It's still smelling bad. Something's not right.
Right.
And so what I should have done at first was to Google Hong Kong scam. And I came up
Right.
with what I found was unbelievable. There's a TV program called America's Best Singer or something. And she was given this exact same thing, a charity function. And here's the scam, because you want to
Right.
figure out, well, if they send you a deposit, you're going to go and, you ticket and go to the plane and all that. But what they do is there's a 3-day wait on on clearing checks, international checks. So,
Right.
And that's the scam. They
Right.
make up some crazy, you know, crazy situation where you have to send the money right back because people are
Yep.
going to
Yep.
die
Yep.
of COVID if you don't send the money right back. And then next thing you know, you're out $10,000 out of your account.
Yeah.
So, and the song was really good. The song was really good. I was talking to my drummer, Mickey Curry. I know Mickey's been to New Zealand with
Right.
Bryan Adams, and but I'm so lucky that I said, "What's it like to go to Hong Kong?" And he says, "Well, it's a 14-hour flight." I said, "But you can go direct, all right?" And I'm planning this. I'm going to bring my friends, and then I said, "No, no, it's a scam." And I just, the gig wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So I should have Googled it first. I mean, there was another one in Tokyo. There was, these kind of things that they had some motivational speaker who was supposed to do something and found out it was a scam. It was very clever, and I have no idea why they picked me. But anyway,
Right.
make a long story longer.
Go for it.
To make a long story longer, I started saying, well, I got to write something. What should I write for this thing? And in the golden age, how it was in the golden age, And I said, oh, this is starting to get interesting. And the words just came out. I mean, the bridge of that song is kind of like the Hong Kong thing. That's why it has the dragon, the dragon in it. And you got to have a little bit of that, little bit of
Right.
mysteriousness, I mean, there's laser shows and fireworks and all of that in that song. It was fun to write, the most fun I can remember. And then
Cool.
the whole idea of the album really gelled when I got this painting from this artist, Alan Ayers. I
Right.
told Alan, I want to look like I looked in the 70s. And he's a brilliant artist. He does a lot of book covers, romantic book covers with the,
Yeah.
but he also did Bridges to Babylon for the Stones.
Oh,
He did
okay.
Stones cover, yeah. And then the sort of the idea of the whole album sort of gelled around. Well,
Gotcha.
I'm a pretty ripe old guy by now. I shouldn't even be doing this. I should be in the old folks' home,
Yeah, well,
binge watching Netflix. But no, I'm out there rocking out,
there
thinking
you go.
about the best times of my life, and
Cool.
it made for a great theme, and all. You're right about what you know, and
Yep. Yep.
yeah, and it's really a down to earth, good sounding album,
Yep.
nicely mixed, and all of that.
So, under what conditions did you record the thing? Because everybody these days, with COVID and everything, some aren't in studios. Everybody's doing it remotely. Blah blah blah. How did you do it?
Well, I did demos of everything here, and then Mickey Curry, the drummer,
Yep.
would come over and he'd listen to everything, and make some suggestions. And then we go to his studio. He's got a friend that has a studio in West Haven, Connecticut, and it's great because he's been there. He's one of his oldest friends in the area, and it was just like old home in the
Right.
studio. So we do all the drums in the studio. Then I bring all the drums back here, finish up what I have to finish up, and then for this album, I sent it out to be mixed by this guy Steve Hardy, who
Right.
did some of my brother's albums, and does a tremendous job, just tremendous. And and I can remember celebrating when we were over at the studio recording the drums. Like, wow, this is the first time we're out. We went to the diner. It was the first time in 2 years
Oh
we had
my
been
God.
able to sit in a
Right.
restaurant.
Right.
Of course, still complicated since then. And
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
it's not completely out of the woods yet, but
We're
we're
getting
going to
there.
go and play some shows this summer. We're going up to Canada. I have a band called Blue Coop. We'll be
Right.
going to Canada and doing a tour up there. And then my brother and I have a band called the Bouchard Brothers.
Right.
My partner plays electric guitar in that. It's
Uh-huh.
mostly an acoustic story show. We
Gotcha.
do the stories behind the songs, and we're going to Scotland, and then England, and then France. So it's going to be interesting. That's in August.
Gotcha.
It's going to be an interesting summer. Knock on wood.
Now, getting back to the album, there's a track
Yeah.
called "Love Out of Thin Air,"
Yeah.
which I kind of like, and I thought
Yes.
you might.
Thanks.
It sounded like there's some horns in there as well.
Yeah.
and
I play. Let's see. Right up there. There's my horns.
yeah.
So I start out with samples of horns, and then I put the real horns on there, and it really comes to life. So I've been obsessed with brass instruments for the last couple of years, and
Right.
during the pandemic I had time to practice because
Right.
it's a very demanding instrument. And
Get
I
your
played
lips in
on my
shape.
brother's, get my lip in shape. I was the worst trumpet player in high school. I
Ah,
would always, I always wanted. We had some good players in our high school band,
Right.
And then I played for like one semester in college. I played trumpet, but then I just said, no, I can't do this.
Well, I was pretty good in high school until I got hit in the mouth with a baseball, and it knocked my tooth out, and that was the end of my
Oh.
career.
So you played a horn in high
I
school?
played trumpet, yeah, cornet.
Trumpet. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody wants to be Louis Armstrong, don't you?
Sure.
Or Miles Davis,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would go and practice along with videos these days. So you got the speed control
Right.
on YouTube. So you just hit the slow down Miles Davis half speed, and I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, there's quite in the early '70s. You had Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and Chase, and
Yeah.
all these horn bands playing, and it was cool for a short while. to play the
Yeah,
trumpet.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, brass is good.
Are
Brass
there
is
horns on
good.
Conspiracy as well? That song?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that one I really wanted to go like full Motown. Well, of course, I had this title, The Swamp of Crazy. Conspiracy, Swamp of Crazy. And of course, it's in the news all the time. And yeah, that one, I had different lyrics for that, but those, see, the nice thing about having the time to write an album is I could take the time and say, well, is that really the best lyric for this song? And then
Mhm.
the conspiracy thing just like came together and like, oh yeah, this is it, with the horns blasting away and the drums like smashing, and just, that exciting,
Yeah.
kind of Motownish sound, and of course it's a very serious subject,
Yep.
because the conspiracies are they're out of control.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have them here as well in New Zealand. It's universal. It feels like I don't know
I
what
guess.
happened.
Well, I think it's social media.
Yeah,
Anybody can say anything, and if
Yep.
you say it enough times, people start believing it. And, oh my God! Well, it's interesting. We'll see how it all pans out.
yep.
Yeah.
Now the album closes out with a tune called "Hey There, Susie Dear."
Yes.
Who's Susie?
Susie is one of the characters in the song that I wrote, or co-wrote for Blue Oyster Cult called Astronomy.
Oh, I remember that one. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And I was really lucky with that because that got covered by Metallica, and
Right.
they're huge all over the world. It changed my life, you know.
Yep.
So, and every time I performed astronomy, whether it's with a band or acoustic, uh, I would say, I wonder about Susie. And then there's Carrie Nurse, and then there's Desdenova, and there's all these characters. And nobody told me. Sandy Perlman, our manager, wrote the lyrics, but he never told me who these characters really were.
Right.
So I've been struggling. That one I've been struggling with for a while. That I wanted to write about Susie, and this one is the most up. I said I'm not gonna get dark about this. I'm gonna really kind of put some Who stuff in it, and some somebody said it sounded like the Ramones, but I don't know. I don't know. Dum
I've heard the
dum dum
Ramones, and
dum.
I'm not sure.
No. Anyway, somewhere between the Who and the Ramones is okay with me.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the Ramones. So when the cult was happening, you guys started out in like '72, which is
Mhm.
it was all kind of glammy
50
and blah blah
years.
blah
Yeah.
and all that. And then so when the punk thing happened, did it affect you guys as a band? Did you think about are we being left behind? Did we have to change our sound?
Maybe we got a little edgier, but not much.
Right.
We were always pretty, you know, you know, structured and tried to play as best we can. We didn't
Right.
intentionally try to play punk.
Right.
Um, but energetic was, we did a lot of things that were energetic. We love the Ramones. In fact, they opened a couple of our shows,
Yeah.
but our fans hated them. I feel bad. And they were really nice guys.
Yep.
Oh man, Joey was last
He was
time I
a
talked to
sweetheart.
him was at a theater, and he was pretty happy, and he was happy to talk to me, which was great.
Right.
So we had a little thing, but yeah, I mixed their monitors one night.
Okay.
I did not do a good job. I said to the monitor mixer, "Let me just mix the monitors for these guys." There's a show in Poughkeepsie
In
with what was I doing there with the monitor board where I shouldn't have been? But anyway, I
Right.
had the
Right.
best
There you
seat.
go.
I had the best seat in the house though for the
I'm sure
show,
you did.
so
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
fun.
They were a band to see. They'd come around
Yep,
every year. You just catch them. And
crazy. Yep,
it was good,
yep.
good stuff. Yeah, very good. So now I have to ask you because I saw, speaking of Blue Oyster Cult, they're doing some kind of 50th anniversary reunion. Well, not
Yeah,
reunion, but thingy. And I think Albert's taking part in some of that. Are,
yeah.
have, are you interested in being a part of that?
I'm interested, but I have not heard anything from the management. So
Really?
yeah, put me out the
Because it sounds like
pasture.
you're on pretty good terms with everybody.
Yeah. Well, um, I'm waiting. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
I'm waiting. We'll see what happens.
I hope it happens.
The first three albums were, I was a big part of those
Yeah,
three
yeah, yeah.
albums, but it's really their thing. I don't know what they're thinking. I know I tried to submit some songs for their last studio album, and they were pretty good songs. I've used them on my solo albums.
Right.
Um, but they wanted to do more stuff with the current touring band, and I
Yeah.
can see that.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
They've put in decades of work,
Sure.
and so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, 50 years. It's some. I mean, if nothing else, it's for the fans. I mean,
That's what I say too. I think they should really do right for the fans, but I'm not in a position to make a decision on that. But
right. Gotcha.
I sat in with them 2 years ago on Halloween. Maybe it was 3 years ago at this point on Halloween, and I wanted to do like more Halloween type songs, but they said no, you just do one song, okay? But it was good. It was a good
I'm
one
sure it
song,
was. Yeah.
because I'd sat in a couple other times, and then maybe I was a little nervous, but the last time was the best performance I'd ever done of a signature song. that I used to sing Hot Rails to Hell.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Signature
fantastic.
song. So that was good. So who knows?
That's a great song.
Still talking about it, 49, 50 years later,
Yeah, man.
I thought
So
if it lasted 3 years, I'd be happy.
yeah.
If we
Well,
were,
the music business is a very different place these days than it was
oh
in
yeah.
1973 or whatever it was. Uh, what's your opinion about how things have changed? How do you look at it?
Well, at least I can afford to do my albums now. Back
Right.
then, I couldn't pay for an album,
Yep.
and it wasn't even a good idea to pay for your own albums. You always wanted to have the record company, and then, of course, over the years, everybody's seen how the record company takes their pile of flesh
Yep.
out of the top of the pot. No, I think it's pretty good now. I mean, it would be nicer if I was as popular as Kate Bush, number one. She's number one.
It just goes to
You know,
show you just got to wait
you
around.
shouldn't you
Anything's possible.
gotta wait it out. You got to do good work. You
Yep.
got to do inspiring work, and
Yep.
then the next thing you know, you're number one on Spotify.
Right.
It'll be the biggest year she's ever had by
Yeah,
far.
definitely.
And
So how is your year looking? You told me you're going to do some touring with
yeah.
Blue Coop and blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
what else are you thinking about working on?
Oh, I don't know. I'm helping my brother with his third double album. My brother
cool.
just turned 75 years old,
Right.
and he's working on his third double album in a row.
Yep.
Excuse me. But so I played a show with him back in January. It's got a great band, and the 3 albums of the Imagino saga, which is a
Right.
redo of an old Blue Oyster Cult album, but then
Yep.
he's taken it to like whole new levels, like new mountains to climb, with this stuff. And I'm glad to be helping him with that. And then I don't know, probably do another record. We want to do a Bouchard Brothers record. We're not sure what's going to be on that now. I know Albert's current project is going to go into 2023. And I'm thinking maybe I should write a book,
There you go. So if you did write a book,
The American Rocker Speaks.
what kind of stories would you tell?
Oh my God, that's a good question. I probably have to write 3 or 4 different books. I don't know. I read all the biographies of
Right.
music biographies. I'm reading Stephen Van Zandt, Miami
Right.
Steve, his book, and I read Chris Hillman's book. Yeah. So, but then again, you gotta be able to craft the story just right. So
Sure.
I don't know.
And
I
I imagine that there's probably stories you can't tell as well.
yeah, and you'd have to check with the lawyer first.
Very good. So what keeps you guys going? I mean, you guys are in your 70s now. You're all still out there doing it, and
I don't
you're
know.
supposed to be retired and sitting at home having a cup of tea.
I think, yeah, but like I said, I really enjoy playing. I've always enjoyed playing, but I'm still enjoying it, and it's my dream to be able to do this, and
Right.
it doesn't feel like work. I mean, I've done some jobs that were work,
Right. Yeah.
in my day, but this seems very natural. I'm very excited about being able to sit down here in the old music room and
Right. So what was your
somehow it
earliest
comes
rock and
out.
roll experience? What was the spark that got you going?
Oh,
Was there a
that-
record or a TV thing or
Yeah,
radio?
well, we loved making music. I guess there were some. We grew up in a small town, so my uncle was a jazz musician. So he was like a weekend warrior. He'd play,
Right.
old swing music. He played
Yep.
swing, and they always seemed to be the happiest guys in town. Were the guys on the bandstand? Yeah. and everybody's dancing and having a good time. So I got into it really early, in the early 60s, before Beatles, pre-Beatles.
Right.
We did songs by the Ventures,
Right.
which was instrumental music. So because we didn't, we were too shy to sing.
Yep.
But then of course the Beatles and the Stones came along, and we had to learn to sing. And I love the Beach Boys and the harmonies, all of that. Love that kind of thing. But yeah, I did my first gig when I was 10 on the sidewalk in front of my uncle's house, and he had all these great guitars. And God bless him, he would let us borrow his Gibsons, and then he bought a Fender Jazzmaster the first year it came out, and
Yep.
he let us use that. And we'd all plug into one amp,
Right.
But we got tips. So somebody said, put out a hat on the sidewalk, and people walking by, because it was like a resort area with summer cottages, and people would like throw, dimes and nickels and quarters in the hat. We must have made like 50 cents. We were rich.
just like it's more than you get from a Spotify thing. So
Yes, true. That's true. Well, yeah, who knows? Who knows?
And what drew you to the bass?
Well, I played. I was a piano major in college. I
Right.
studied classical piano for 4 years, and I think the last 2 years of college, I got in this band where it was a Latin jazz band. Really a nice band, really organized. They had charts, so I learned to read charts, and those 2 years, so I had 2 years experience on playing bass, and played all the jazz hits of the day, I guess.
Yep.
And I don't know if I would have stayed with bass if I hadn't gotten the phone call from my brother. He
Right.
calls me up in the middle of the night. We want you to join the band. It's not working out with the old bass player, so we need somebody new. And we decided that you're the guy. So, and a special added bonus, we're going to do a tour with Led Zeppelin.
Well,
so
there
you
you
got to
go.
get here right away. So I left my summer job after I graduated, a summer job on Martha's Vineyard, drove Labor Day weekend, the worst traffic that I'd ever experienced in my life. Got to the band house and I said, I'm ready for the tour. Let's go. And he says, well, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And as it was, Led Zeppelin, except for a few exceptions in the very early days for them, they'd never had an opening act. It was always just one act,
Yeah.
And so, and then that same week they got dropped from their record label, and I said, okay, guys, we're going to make
Was this when
happen.
they were soft white underbelly still?
Well, they were soft white underbelly, but they had a transitional name called the Stock Forest Group. So officially I joined when it was Stock Forest, the Stock Forest Group. Yeah. And, and then 1 year later, we auditioned for Clive Davis at Columbia Records, and he signs us.
What do you think Clive saw in you guys? Because he's the guy, I mean, they're raving about him these days. The documentaries are made about him.
We were young, enthusiastic, Our audition was in the conference room at the Big Black Rock, the Columbia Records building,
Right.
And it wasn't like we had our fans there cheering us on. No, there was like, they took the tables out of the way. We set up all our equipment at the end of the conference room, and there were like 7 chairs at the end of the room, and there were like a couple of executives, and I heard that Patti Smith was there, a few people. Harry Nilsson was there. Bobby Colomby from Blood, Sweat, and Tears was there. And we played 5 songs.
So what did you play for him?
Well, we played 4 originals, and we played a cover, a Beatles cover of a song called Bad Boy.
Right.
I think we might have played Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll. That might have been there. Maybe. And he liked, I heard that Clive really liked Donald's song, which is Then came the last days of May.
I was hoping
It's-
you were going to say that. It's like my
Then came
favorite
the last days of May.
song.
Yes,
I
still
love that
played
song.
all the time. And who knows? I think also another thing I found out is that when Clive wanted to sign Led Zeppelin,
Right.
and at the last minute, Peter Grant, their manager, decided to go with Atlantic Records.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that Clive might have signed us because, well, I don't have any of that heavy music, so it might have been just a
Right,
random
right.
thing, like he didn't get Zeppelin, so okay, we'll take Blue Oyster Cult.
Not a bad,
okay.
not a bad trade-off.
Yeah.
Columbia's not a bad label. My favorite band was Mott the Hoople. They were on Columbia the same time you guys were.
Yeah. Ian Hunter.
He just
God
turned
bless him.
83.
I know.
Yesterday.
I know. I have a story about Ian. I
Oh,
met
please.
him I met him at the magazine store. I used to live in the northwest corner of Connecticut. And I went to this magazine store, and there's Ian Hunter. And I think he was getting like the international papers so he could read the British news and stuff. So I said, Ian, it's Joe from Blue Oyster. And it's, Joe the Oyster. So he gave me his phone number. Oh, great, And then after that Metallica thing happened with Astronomy, the cover, I said, well, I got to write more songs. So I called, it was like right after New Year's, I called up Ian. I said, how would you like to go down to Neil Smith's house? Because Monday nights we have this writing band. We write songs. And, maybe you can help us with the song. He says, oh, sure. So I went and picked him up at his house. We drove down to Neil's. And, and I say, you want to jam with us? He says, I don't jam. Okay. He says, I'm just going to observe. So he ends up co-writing 4 songs with us.
Nice.
And the nice thing too was I would have this 40-minute drive from his house to Neil's house. So he'd be telling me all these stories about how he wrote this and, what do you think I should do? Because I'd never had a lesson in how to write a song. So, just in conversation, he'd be telling me, I worked with Mick Ronson and, Mick didn't really like to write very much, but we did write a couple of songs. And I said, if you want to write good songs, you got to put in the time,
Yeah.
And if you work all day on a song and you only get one word, it was worth it. So that echoes in my head.
Sure.
As I'm working on this album, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to find that word if it takes me all day, So you can say, well, the muse has to, has to come follow you, has to, like a bolt of lightning,
Right.
And that does happen occasionally especially when you're young, I guess. But most of it is hard work and just not working on it until you feel like every bit of the puzzle is maximized, So I learned that from Ian. He's a great guy. I get to see him every once in a while. I know some of the people in his band and
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna say?
I was gonna say I actually saw him without his glasses on.
Sunglasses.
I was shocked. He invited me in for dinner one night. And we were coming back from, and he said, here, you want some shepherd's pie? I said, sure. And his wife is so nice, Trudy. And he took off his sunglasses. Like,
yeah, right. Man, oh man. All righty.
Yeah.
Well,
big news.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you for telling me all these stories.
Well, thank you for reaching out,
My pleasure. I hope American Rocker does the deal, I mean,
gonna blow Kate Bush off the charts.
You never know. Anything can happen. Come on down to New Zealand when you get a chance. Bring the band.
I would love to. Yeah.
Because you can jam with Don McGlash and do Don't fear the Reaper.
I'd love to do that. What was the name? The Muffin Man?
The Muttonbirds.
Muttonbirds. I was going to say
Yep,
Muffin
yep,
Birds.
yep.
Muttonbirds. All right. I'll look that
Check it
up.
out. See what you think.
Thank you
It's a
so
pretty good
much.
version.
Yeah, it's
They
thrilled
put their own spin
talking
on it.
to a whole new part of the world that is new to me. You know, so
Right.
there's always something new out there. You know.
That's a fact.
Thank you so much.